Getting a Formula One car off the line used to be quite a simple task. The 5 red lights would go out and 20 of the world's best drivers would launch towards that first corner. But for 2026, this fundamental part of a Grand Prix has been turned on its head. It has become one of the most talked about and complicated procedures in the sport, with a simple race start now involving a delicate and lengthy dance between driver, engine, and electronics. The reason for this big change lies deep inside the new power units. The regulations for 2026 have removed a key component called the MGU-H. This piece of technology was brilliant at helping the turbocharger get up to speed almost instantly. Without it, that job now falls entirely to the old-fashioned internal combustion engine. To get the turbo spinning fast enough for a good launch, drivers now have to hold the engine at incredibly high revs, sometimes over 12,000 RPM for 10 seconds or even longer before the race even begins. This new long procedure has created a lot of debate in the paddock. The first and most serious concern raised was about safety. The fear was simple with such a complex process. What happens if a driver gets it wrong? If a car fails to launch properly and is left sitting on the grid while others fly past at high speed, it creates a very dangerous situation. The difference in speed between a moving car and a stationary one is huge, and a collision, of course, would be massive. One team boss was among the first to voice these worries publicly. He pointed out that the risk of a driver making a mistake and either being very slow or even stalling the car was now much higher. One team member even suggested that early analysis showed that as many as 1 in every 20 practice starts were going wrong. If that statistic is true, then it means there's a very high chance of at least one car having a problem at the start of every single race. A current driver explained the new reality perfectly. He said that in the past, a bad start meant that you might lose a place or two. Now, a bad start could see you fall 6 or 7 places, or even worse, be left behind completely. It's a huge penalty for a small mistake. However, when the drivers themselves were asked about the supposed danger, their response was quite surprising. The most experienced drivers on the grid were quick to say that the new procedure is not dangerous. One veteran, now driving for a famous Italian team, was very clear. He told the media that people should stop using the word dangerous to describe the new start. In his view, it is simply a different and longer procedure than what they were used to. He explained that even if the turbo isn't fully up to speed when the lights go out, the car can still pull away. It will be very slow and the anti-stall system might kick in a few times, but the car would move. He admitted that the anti-stall could be a problem for some, though, but he did not see it as a direct safety risk. Another driver, now competing for a new American-led team, agreed with his former teammate. He said he doesn't think it's more dangerous than before. For him, the main worry was not about safety, but about fairness and practicality, especially for drivers at the back of the grid. He explained that when you are at the back, you have very little time from when you line up in your grid spot to when the start sequence begins. His concern was whether there would be enough time to complete the 10-second revving procedure before the lights go out. A reigning world champion, known for his straightforward opinions, didn't give a serious take on the danger, but instead made a joke, saying that any driver who felt unsafe could simply start from the pit lane. While the drivers played down the danger, the new start procedure has opened up a really interesting strategic battle between the teams. And it seems that one Italian team has here played a very smart game. It turns out that the teams knew about this turbo lag problem for a long time. It has been revealed that this particular team actually asked the governing body about this specific issue back in 2025, and were told that the start procedure would not be changed. So with that knowledge, they designed their engine in a way that would give them an advantage. A rival driver suggested that this team might be using a smaller turbocharger which needs less time and lower revs to get up to speed. This could make their starts more consistent and reliable, a huge advantage when a good start can put you in control of a race. This theory is supported by what happened when other teams tried to get the rules changed. Last summer, that team's principal blocked the change. His argument was that it would be unfair to penalize teams like his, who had made compromises in their engine design specifically to have good starts just to help those who hadn't. This confidence shows that the team believes they have turned a major regulation change into a powerful weapon, one that their competitors can't easily copy. Faced with a split between the teams and growing discussion in the media, The governing body had to act. The issue was officially discussed in the commission meeting held during a pre-season test. The result was a compromise, as the governing body would trial a new start procedure at the end of the testing days. This would allow them to gather real-world data before making a final decision for the first race of the season. The trial took place at the end of the first day of the final test week. The change was simple. The governing body added an extra 5 seconds of waiting time between the moment the last car arrives on the grid and the moment the first of the 5 red lights illuminates. The goal was to give every driver, especially those at the back, enough time to complete their pre-start checks and get the turbo spooled up. The results of the test were encouraging, although not every car made a perfect getaway. The reports indicated that the extra time did seem to be enough for drivers to launch without triggering their car's anti-stall system. It was a positive first step, suggesting that a simple timing change rather than a complex rule rewrite could be the solution. The governing body will now analyze all the data from the test before deciding if this new 5-second buffer will become a permanent part of the 2026 race start procedure. What do you think is the best solution? Should the officials give drivers more time, or should the teams that got it wrong just have to deal with bad starts? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. The whole situation does show how complex Formula One is, where a change to one part of the engine can then create a ripple effect that changes the very nature of how a race begins, turning the first few seconds into a high-stakes game of technical skill and strategy. It does also add another layer of unpredictability to a sport that is already full of it. Let's dive a bit deeper into what the drivers are actually dealing with inside the cockpit. The new procedure is not just about holding down the throttle for 10 seconds. It's a frantic sequence of actions that demands perfect timing and concentration, all while surrounded by 19 other cars doing exactly the same thing. A young rookie driver gave a very honest description of the chaos. He said it was complicated, a mess of revving the engine, changing gears, and managing the clutch. He even admitted that after 5 seconds of counting, he would lose track of where he was in the sequence. Even for the veterans, it's a big challenge. The viral video of a famous driver revving his new Italian car for 22 seconds at the end of the pit lane during the first test is a perfect illustration. While some like the reigning champion joked that he was just revving it for show, it highlights the extreme length drivers might have to go to in order to get the car into the perfect window for launch. They're trying to balance keeping the turbo spinning without overcharging the battery, all while watching their dashboard and waiting for the 5 red lights. It's a high-wire act before the race has even started. The technical challenge is immense, and it's forced teams down different strategic paths. In past years, start revs were around 9,000 to 10,000 RPM. Now drivers consistently hold the engine above 12,000 RPM, a level previously reserved for qualifying laps. The rules also forbid using the electric motor for the initial launch, making the getaway purely dependent on the combustion engine, and that has led to different philosophies. One observer's note about a specific team's smaller turbo and higher gears contrast with another team's aggressive low-gear strategy to recharge the battery. It's a really interesting engineering puzzle where every manufacturer is getting their own solution to a problem that could decide the races before the first corner is even reached.